What's up, you beautiful chuds? With us now into the month of October, the spooky season, the season of screams is now here. I thought that I would do a little video to share with you what are my go-to Halloween movies. Now, this video isn't where I'm saying these are the best movies that were ever made and these are the movies that I watch every single Halloween because of how good they are. That's not what this video is about. This video is about talking about the movies that are the essence of what Halloween is, or the essence of how Halloween makes you feel. And these movies are the movies that really get me in the mood for the spooky season. There are some movies on here. In fact, one of the movies that I was going to add that I didn't isn't even a film that I particularly think is very good, but there is something about it that makes you just think of Halloween and that time of year. And it's my favourite time of the year, and it's a year especially for horror fans where we all come out in our parades and everything like that of just going, look, these are the horror films that I love watching, and I want to share them with you, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to give you a list of movies that really may help you get into the Halloween spirit. So the Funhouse Massacre, I suppose it's a bit of a strange one to have on a list, but there is something about it. This is a film that, I mean, never really gets spoke about. It's a film that I speak to people and pretty much no one has seen. It is just, there's something about it that I truly, genuinely love about this movie. I think it's because ultimately it could be and should be absolute shit, but for some reason it's not. And I think that's a testament to obviously the filmmakers, the cast. They're quite clearly just having fun with this movie. But what's great about it is that it has some great set pieces and great set design and absolutely incredible practical effects. That, I mean, there's so much practical effects in this, it's insane. So even if you are somebody alone that just loves practical effects, you'll love this movie. But it's just got these fun characters that, as I said, they're having fun doing it. They're having fun with the type of movie it is. Funhouse Massacre, I don't really necessarily have to say too much. Basically, there's some absolute mentals that are in an insane asylum. They end up getting out, and then they go to the local sort of the haunted houses that they do, where people go around and get scared and all that sort of stuff. But they turn it real, and then obviously everything goes tits up. But I don't know what it is, but this is a film that, I can't remember when it came out. I think it's like 2015, 2016. That could be completely wrong. But when it came out, I watched it, expected it to be absolutely awful. But I watched it because Robert Englund's in it. I won't say for how long, but he's in it. And it was just a film that I truly enjoyed my time watching it. It is a film that you can just put on and have fun with. The characters are great, but there's something about it that, once again, and in all honesty, it probably is just the fact that it's so fun, the fact that it's got this great sort of haunted house sort of aesthetic, and all the stuff and all the carnage that's going on. It really gives me the feeling of Halloween. So this is always a movie that at the start of the spooky season I always put on, because obviously as further I go into it, as further along I go to watching the absolute classics. So Funhouse Massacre, if you haven't seen that one, go and watch it. So Trick or Treat, in all honesty, is probably an obvious one. It is going to be on so many lists that they do if other people doing videos, which I'm sure they will, but this is going to be on most people's lists because not only is it a fantastic movie with a fantastic character who is essentially the spirit of Halloween, going around and ensuring that everything that goes on that night is going to plan, and if it doesn't, well, then Sam's got to step in to fix it. But it's such a great movie. And I mean, I absolutely love this movie, and I think there's so much to it. But this is one of those movies that is essentially one of the highest depictions of what a Halloween movie is and should look like and should make you feel. From the second this movie comes on, you automatically think that you've been transported to Halloween night and this world of Halloween, that you actually want to be your world because you want to be out and the parties and all these pumpkins, and the aesthetic of this movie is so gorgeous. And it's so gory as well, and the adult themes are so apparent in this, when it's like I've said this in the episode we did about it, coming soon, but the film is like a kid's movie, and one of those movies that you can sit down and watch with a family, but it's not, because it's wrapped up in this adult themed adult story, so to speak, and there's a lot of really dark things that happen in Trick or Treat. But it is one of those movies that 100% will get you in the mood for Halloween. So the next ones coming up are probably going to surprise people, because they are not all doom and gloom, or even if the stories might be dark, there's not guts, there's not gore, there's not blood, there's not all this sort of stuff. Because once again, this video is about sharing the movies that give you the feeling, the essence of what Halloween is and what it's all about, and what truly makes you feel in your heart and on the inside, and what truly makes you feel like you are in that moment of the spooky season and you cannot wait for what keeps coming. So the next one that I've got is an absolute classic family movie, Addams Family, or Addams Family Values. These movies are just, if you're as old as I am, these are movies that you sort of grew up with, and these are movies that you just put on and they are so much fun, they're so enjoyable, the cast is always great, the stories are weird and unique, the look of the movie is always fantastic, they have great aesthetics, and all of that together with these great performances and everything that you get, and these now iconic characters, you just get the absolute sense of once again, it's Halloween and it's the spooky season. So Addams Family or the Addams Family Values, whichever one you want to put on, they're destined to put you into the mood of going, here we are, the spooky season's here, and I'm happy to be part of this weird on-screen family. And sticking with family classics, obviously Halloween Town. Halloween Town is one of those old school sort of Disney movies that really, even as an adult, you're like, I don't know whether I want to watch this anymore because I'm not a child. And then the second you do, you're like, why would I ever doubt myself if I wanted to watch this? Because this is just such an old school, incredibly nostalgic movie that it just brings you back to your childhood of when you were going out and trick-or-treating and all that sort of stuff, and maybe egging houses. I'm not saying that I did or didn't, but maybe I did. You know, all these sort of things where you were getting into mischief and so on. Halloween Town is one of those movies that really does remind you of that, but also it's such a great entry into, obviously it's not a horror, but it's a really good film to help kids enter that sort of world of going, oh, these films, you know, because Halloween Town has moments in it that might be considered a little bit spooky. Not many, but it still might be considered spooky to kids. And this is one of those movies that you can put on and test the waters with them and go, okay, like if you're all right with this, then you might be all right with something else. But if they do enjoy it, it's going to be one of those movies that they keep wanting to return to. And that's this is a movie that I always return to. It's a movie that my partner always wants to return to. And now my daughter, every single year, it's a must watch. And like I said, this is another one that I put on at the start of the spooky season, most of the time on a weekend, sitting there with our snacks, with our popcorn, with the Halloween decorations around. And it's so funny because, you know, there's so much darkness around the Halloween season that people portray it to be, but there's nothing but like warmth and love for it. But also in your own home, there's nothing but warmth and love around this season. If you love this season, and this time of year, even though the weather outside might be cold, it's so warm inside because of how it makes us feel nice and cozy watching movies like Halloween Town. Paranorman is a movie that is not spoken enough about, and I get it sometimes because it is, do you class it as an animated movie? I don't know, it's obviously stop motion and so on, but this is one of, if not the most beautiful stop motion movie ever made, because the horror aesthetic lends itself to it. It is a kids horror movie done in the way and the style that it is, but it's so beautiful, this movie, in regards to not just the story and where it goes and the characters, but also, as I said, the aesthetics of it. And what I really, really, truly love about Paranorman is that it was definitely made by people who love the genre, because there's so many nods in Paranorman to horror movies that only the people that have seen them will know. And I remember sitting there at the cinema watching this with my friends, and we were so excited about seeing it, and obviously it was around Halloween time as well. And we sat there, and there was a couple of us that every time these moments happened, we would look at each other and go, oh, that's cool. Like, that's awesome. They did a little nod to that in what is essentially a kid's Halloween movie. So Paranorman is one of those, as I said, it isn't spoken about enough. If you've never seen it, then you need to, because it's such a great film, quite clearly made with so much, not only talent, but love. If you like, obviously, Coraline, it's the same creators. So if you like that, you'll love Paranorman. But also, it's one of those movies that for people who love horror and love the genre, it's almost a love letter to horror and to the genre itself, with this great story, with these great sort of characters that you're on this journey with them with. As I said, ever since this came out, every single year it's come out, I have watched it every single Halloween. And then since my daughter's been born, obviously, once again, it's another film that I watch every single year. Paranorman is absolutely phenomenal. So no sort of Halloween watch list is going to be complete without a Tim Burton movie, right? Like, the guy makes movies that just feel like you are in some form of version of Halloween, no matter what it sort of is. And the one that I'm going to mention isn't probably the one that you're thinking about. I know you're probably thinking Beetlejuice or A Nightmare Before Christmas. And they are movies that I absolutely love to watch around this time of year. But there are also movies that you can sort of watch. Well, Beetlejuice, for example, is a movie that I do watch all year round with my family. It's just such a fantastic movie. Nightmare Before Christmas, I actually tend to watch that around Christmas time, because we sort of have less movies to watch around Christmas than we do Halloween. Well, for me, especially with all this stuff behind me, I mean, they're all horrors, so I don't really put them on at Christmas time so much, unless they are Christmas-specific horrors. So there feels like I can add Nightmare Before Christmas to that Christmas list. So the one that I'm adding to this is one of the most underseen or untalked about Tim Burton movies, and it's actually one of his best, and that's Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow is probably the darkest and most horror adjacent movie that Tim Burton has made. This is a movie that a lot of movies that Tim Burton make feel almost like his own fairy tales, and there is always a lot of lightness to them, even though they might be, you know, covered in all this darkness that's going on around them. I mean, Beetlejuice, you know, it's so much fun, but there's some very dark things and dark themes and dark moments in that movie, even though it feels like a family film. Sleepy Hollow isn't one, and this is one of the list that I wouldn't necessarily say is an all-out family film, because it is very dark. It has its very dark moments, and it does have some sinister turns in it. But this is a movie, and I don't know if it's purely because of the aesthetic and the fact that it's, you know, Ichabod Crane, the Headless Horseman and everything like that. This is a movie that doesn't, as I said, doesn't get talked about enough in regards to being up there with one of the best that Tim Burton's done, because this movie is fantastic from start to finish. It has some of the most gorgeous aesthetics Tim Burton has ever done. I love the colour palette to this movie, where it's almost so often feels almost black and white without being black and white. And then when the blood happens and so on. And obviously there's a lot of blood in this movie for a Tim Burton movie. So it's definitely, for me, his most horror adjacent, definitely his darkest movie. Obviously apart from Sweeney Todd, I forgot about that, but that's because I don't really like it. But this is a real high point for me personally for Tim Burton. And it's a shame that it's not really spoken about enough. But once again, Sleepy Hollow is 100% one of the movies that I always recommend for people to watch for the Halloween season, to get you in the mood of it and going, oh, okay, like, here we are, we're here. So The Guest is another newer movie. It's now turning 10 years old, which blows my absolutely mind. This film does not feel like it came out 10 years ago. And it's a movie that I cannot wait to cover on my show, on my podcast, because it has genuinely become one of my favourite films of all time. Not just to watch on the spooky season, but just in general, if you haven't watched The Guest before and you love films that feel like, you know, John Carpenter-esque, but with amazing set pieces, amazing action, this character that you don't know whether you want to love him or hate him, but he's definitely a bit of a hunk. That's what my partner tells me. And a great soundtrack. It's just everything about this movie just works, and it's so expertly crafted, and it's got twists and turns. And then on top of it, it has this thing where it just genuinely makes you feel so immersed in Halloween, and the way that it makes you feel is just, it's just so good. I truly love watching this movie, but I love how this movie makes me feel around this time of year. And obviously a lot of it is set, you know, on Halloween as well. And that's always one of the things that's obviously quite clearly and obviously going to make you think of Halloween and Halloween season if a movie's set around it. But this film just does it expertly, and it does what it needs to get you into the mood of it without it going, we're just a flat out Halloween movie that you're going to want to watch every time of the year. That's up to you. You can make your mind up. But I put this one in here because not only does it make you feel like Halloween, but also it's one of those movies that still, even though it's been out for like 10 years now, still I speak to people very often and they have no idea what The Guest is. And that is, I mean, that fucking sucks. So we're starting to get into some of the classics that are probably going to be on everybody's lists, but I mean, there's reasons as to why. So the first one is A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first Nightmare on Elm Street. And this for me, as it is for a lot of people, is a comfort movie. And it's weird to say that a movie that can be considered so dark, or an idea, a concept, that it is so terrifying. And in all honesty, out of probably all the icons, who Freddy is and the idea and concept of what he is and what he has become and what he can do in your dreams, that is absolutely terrifying. So as a horror, it's scary, it's terrifying, but it is still a movie that is a comfort movie for so many people. So that maybe might show our twisted minds, I don't know. But there is something about this movie that, once again, I think it's just the fact that around this time of year, we can watch the dark movies and the movies that are covered in blood and guts and gore and all that sort of stuff, and it's fun to watch some of those movies. But horror around this time of year is always at its best when it's fun or it makes you feel something. And Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those movies that makes you feel something. It is one of those movies that makes you think about the terror and the dread. But at the same time, it really immerses you in this world of horror, and it immerses you in this world of the feeling of Halloween and it being a comfort movie, even though obviously it's not really set at Halloween. So Nightmare on Elm Street is just one of those iconic horrors that really always gets you into the mood for this time of season, and it does it for a lot of people. And from Nightmare on Elm Street, we go into another Wes Craven movie, and that is obviously Scream. Scream is one of the greatest horror movies, one of the greatest movies ever made, and it is one of the most important movies and most inspirational movies in my life. It's a very personal movie, Scream. It is one of those movies that I watched, you know, at a pretty young age. I think I was 12 or 13. And it had an immediate impact on me. And once again, this movie is fun. It's incredibly fun, but it's also got, especially for the first time you see it, the twists and turns that you don't expect. It was fresh, it was new. When it came out, it just felt like something we hadn't seen before. But yet, even to this day, when you watch it, because of Wes Craven's incredible filmmaking prowess and talent, like he's already shown in previous films like A Nightmare on Elm Street, he is just a master at constantly reinventing the genre, which obviously he has done like a couple of times now, if not more. And he's phenomenal at making these movies stick and last long and having an effect on you that you don't necessarily always get from other movies or other directors and filmmakers. He's a phenomenal filmmaker, And that makes Scream what it is. But not just that, it's the fact that it is fun. It is about horror. It is a horror movie. They do have a party in it. The characters are fun. It is dark. It does have blood. It has absolutely everything that you want in a horror movie. And that is why not only is this a movie that's on so many people's lists, but it is a movie that people truly, truly have so much affection for, and I'm one of those people. I mean, literally, I would try and dress like Billy from Scream when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I would only wear black jeans, black boots, a white t-shirt, and curtains and everything like that in my hair. You know, it was just, it was such a great time to be watching these movies, whether you were young as I was or whether you were older, 16, 18 and so on. It was just new, it was just fresh. And it is a movie every single year I have to watch. And the last one obviously is, I mean, the obvious one, the one that's probably going to be on pretty much 95% of people's lists. But I'm changing it up a little bit. I'm making a little bit of difference to it because, of course, Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978, one of the most important, one of the best horror films that has ever been made on every aspect. Not just because of the characters we're on the journey with, not just because of the iconic Michael Myers stalking his prey in the terrifying way that he does, but just because also it is one of the most aesthetically and cinematography wise, one of the most beautiful movies still to this day. On a technical aspect, this is incredible. But also, it is a film set around Halloween. What more can you want for a Halloween movie? Halloween, as I said, I'm not going to go on about it too much, but it is just a masterpiece of a movie. But also, Halloween 2 is something that also gets forgotten about. And Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, is also something that gets forgotten about. And it's quite interesting now how we are now in a time where people are actually coming round because it's more fashionable to like Season of the Witch and Halloween 2. But they should have always been loved. And ever since I was a kid, and we used to watch a VHS that had Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 on the same VHS tape. You just watch one and then watch Halloween 2. If you wanted to, you could, or you could just fucking stop it. It's up to you. But I have always championed, I've always been a fan of Halloween 2 ever since I was a kid. Obviously, it's not Halloween, it's not as good as Halloween, but I do not think that it has ever deserved what it has got and the hatred it has got for so many years. And like I said, it's nice seeing it get what it's due, you know, now where people are coming around to it and starting to enjoy it more. But it should never have really been that case because it's a very good sequel. And yes, you get the whole storyline of, you know, Laurie is now Michael's sister and so on like that. Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen a film from 1980, 81 or whatever it is. But it's just a truly, truly fantastic movie. And that's why I also think that if you're watching Halloween, you should also be watching Halloween 2. But you should also be watching Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And I would probably say, if you've never seen that before, obviously don't go in thinking it's a Halloween movie, of course. Don't go into expecting it to feel like the other Halloween movies, apart from the fact that you've got John Carpenter's, and if not one of John Carpenter's best scores, even though it's not directed by him. It's got great effects. It's got an interesting, a unique story. And it's got Tom Atkins being, you know, the OG fuckboy, just going around doing the shit that he does. Once again, it's fun, but it's set on Halloween and it gets you into this mood. And just like all of these movies that I have spoken about, Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 3 are all movies that really get you in the mood for the spooky season. So there we go. That is a list. They are the movies that every single Halloween up until from the 1st to the 31st of October, they are movies that every single year I have to watch. Now, there are always going to be other movies around it. And I've got written down some other notable mentions. One of the other things that I absolutely adore and have done since I was a kid, and I'm so happy we get to watch it now whenever on YouTube, but the Michael Jackson Thriller music video is just a true masterpiece of not just a music video, but just a true masterpiece in horror. It's such a fun journey that you go on with Michael Jackson and his girlfriend in this movie, and obviously the practical effects and the zombies and the werewolf transformations, everything is just so good. And you can just tell that everybody that was making that was having the best time. And on top of it, you get one of the best songs ever made. And especially it's a song that's on everybody's Halloween playlist. So, I mean, look, you got to go and watch the music video for Thriller. And they have the long version on there as well, which is essentially like the whole sort of mini film. So, you know, Michael Jackson's Thriller is an absolute must for me every single year. But there are other movies that I was thinking of adding to the list, but I didn't, because they're not movies that I really like. You know, I don't have to watch them every year. One of them being Horn. That's quite a recent movie, and that was the movie that I was saying at the start that I don't particularly think is all that good. I think there's a lot of problems with it. I think it could have been better, but it makes you feel, like I said, about Halloween. It makes you, when you're watching it, even if you were watching it in like February or March or in the summer, and you're like, yeah, this does make you really can't wait for Halloween. And that's what these sort of movies do. It makes you sort of wish time away, because you're like, I want to get to the Halloween season, which we probably shouldn't do. Hell House is also a little bit similar. It's another film that's more, you know, handheld horror style, found footage, as some people would call it, as I don't really like to call it that. But Hell House is another one. The problem with Hell House is that you sort of loses the realism as it goes through it, and I think that's a loss to the movie. It's a film that I enjoy watching, and some of the others, you know, go more on that crazy path that they probably shouldn't. But it's all right. Obviously, I've already mentioned Nightmare Before Christmas. That's obviously, you know, a mainstay. But as I said, I normally tend to watch that around more Christmas time. Beetlejuice, I've mentioned. Terrified 2 is a movie that is obviously set on Halloween. It's a fantastic movie. I truly, truly adore Terrified 2 and Art the Clown. But it is also like 2 hours, 40 minutes. And I don't want to do that every year to myself. So I don't. So it's a great movie, and if you want to add it to your list, then do. It's just not something that I watch every single year, because I like to almost savour it and then watch it every now and again. Also, I like to watch it any time of the year. And then the other ones is The Babysitter and The Babysitter 2. These are, once again, movies that don't really get talked about. And I feel like I almost should have added it to the main list, but there was like 10, I think, so I didn't really want to go over that. But I do want to add that The Babysitter is also a film that I truly, absolutely love. Once again, it's all about having fun with the genre. It's all about enjoying your time with these characters. But once again, it feels pretty fresh, pretty unique. The way that it's shot, the way that it's filmed, the way that it's performed. I truly love The Babysitter, and the sequel is good, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's just got the odd little different set dressing and set piece, but I still enjoy the sequel. But the first one, but also when you watch the first one, you're like, well, now I do have to watch the second one as well. So it can't be that bad that you're like, I'm never watching the second one again. But the first one, when it came out, it really surprised me, because I genuinely thought, I was like, okay, well, this could just be, you know, pretty shit. And I was so surprised that, in all honesty, I think I do watch it. Since it's been out, I have watched it most years. It's been out. I just, every now and again, I forget about movies because I get old. But doing this list has reminded me that The Babysitter probably should be added to my every single year list. And then, as well as that, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of those, once again, it comes about nostalgia. Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of my favourite programmes of all time. I watched it when I was a kid, and I still watch it now. And there's not many programmes like this, apart from, say, Goosebumps and Erie, Indiana. There's not many more that really get you in the mood and get you nostalgic for remembering what it was like to be a kid around this time of year, and sharing that with your kids, and then going, look, this is what I was doing when I was a kid, and do you want to go and do this? And then they say, no, I'd much rather not. And then you're like, okay, well, I'll just do it on my own then. And then the other one is a super modern one that I'm just going to add it in there, is Deadstream. Once again, it's one that I should have added to the main list, but it's very, very new, Deadstream. I think it was like 2022, I think. So you've got to give them a little bit of time to be something that's a mainstay. But Deadstream is honestly one that I will watch every single year, for the rest of my life, or for the rest of how long Shudder have it. Although, no, I do have a physical release of Deadstream. So, yeah, I could watch that for the rest of my life. And I probably will. Deadstream, once again, is a movie that not everybody talks about, not everybody sees. It's on Shudder. It's absolutely phenomenal. Said it wrong twice, can't even speak. And it's a great movie that's very unique and has a different approach on handheld horrors and integrating modern day technology to it. It's phenomenal, and on top of all of it, it's crazy good fun. And in fact, it is a movie that in a few days I will be watching. So Deadstream's amazing. So there you go. That is my list, and then a few notable mentions of movies that are out there that you can watch that will get you in the mood of the spooky season, the season of screams. Halloween is here. We are now in October. We can now not worry about getting excited about it. We can be excited about it. Just go and enjoy it. Be safe, have fun, plan those parties, plan the trick-or-treating, get those eggs ready, get as many eggs as you can, because if those motherfuckers don't give you candy, then that's on them. They get eggs on their house. And always check your candy, just in case, because Trick or Treat definitely showed us we need to check our candy. But listen, let me know your list as well. You can pop it in the comments on this video of what sort of movies you love watching every single year. You can go onto any of our social media platforms for Let's Talk Horror channel. Just search for us, you'll find us. You can let me know on there as well. But if I don't do a video before, if I don't speak to any of you before, have a great Halloween.